You decided to leave your job and start Animal Capital.
I had a sense of like what I could do. The concept was really simple. I'm going to find a way to get myself involved with founders really early, and I'm going to do something so special for them that I change the entire trajectory of their business.
You've worked with some incredible celebrities.
Got Paris Hilton to invest in the business, Chris Hemsworth, Brady, James Corden, Mark Wahlberg.
I think every single successful person has moments in their life where you have to feel like you're starting from scratch again.
Don't be afraid to take whatever the risk is that you've been thinking about for a long time.
Marshall Sandman, welcome to Poster on High.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We just ran a couple miles.
It's so freaking hot.
This was our hottest run so far of the year by far. Like, I feel like we've had a pretty good summer so far where it's been cool, but today was hot, humid. So we've officially entered the New York summer running season.
We're also getting to the point where you realize it's New York summer because the streets are kind of empty.
Yeah.
Except I did almost get you run over by a car already today.
We were on the highway, but I was like, at least we have this helmet. The first thing I want to start off with is you have such a good name, Marshall Sandman.
Thank you very much. My childhood librarian used to sing me the song.
What's the song?
Mr. Sandman, bring me every single time I walked in, and it has been. I mean, I would imagine anyone with the last name Sandman would end up getting that sung to them a lot. But yeah, the name Sandman's carried me through a handful of things, especially this year.
I don't know the lore or the jingle of Sandman.
Well, the two big ones were Enter Sandman is a huge Metallica song.
Okay.
And I should know the guy's name, but there's like a gigantic Yankees player that was his walkout song. So I either got the Enter Sandman or I got the Mr. Sandman, which is by the Chordettes, sung to me. And that was, I would say that happens to me at least 5 times a week, and I'm 33, so for 33 years.
And as of this year, you've got a horse named after you.
We have a horse named Sandman. I tried to be very humble because I genuinely did not believe that the horse was named after me. As you kind of know, I work with a kid named Griffin Johnson. Griffin is one of our advisors to our business. He's like my little brother. And we got approached maybe 2 years ago, maybe almost 3 years ago, because the horse is 3 now. To get involved with a horse racing team called West Point Thoroughbreds. And it was a good friend of mine that I've known for 15 years. And they really wanted to work with a celebrity to amplify horse racing to a younger generation. And of any celebrity that they could work with, they picked Griffin, which couldn't have gone any better. And then shortly after, they went to auction to pick the horse. And it turned out shortly after, the horse was named Sandman. And I think that the owner, Terry Finley, who is the greatest guy in the world, was trying not to pump my tires or like blow my head up too much. But 18 months went by and I heard from somebody else that had met with Terry. Yeah, like it just made sense to name the horse Sandman. Like we just met Marshall. I loved the name. And we own a small piece of the horse, and we competed this year in the Kentucky Derby. It was a really like rainy, messy day. It was not a great day, but then we came in third in the Preakness and had a great day. And we're going to be competing this summer again in the Jim Dandy at the end of July, and then in Saratoga at the Travers Cup, which you are more than welcome to come attend.
Is this a formal invitation?
This is a formal invitation. You can either come to Jim Dandy, but you should come to the Travers. It's like a big race. That's right behind Triple Crown in terms of size.
Okay, say no more. I am a horse girl through and through. Self-proclaimed. I never grew up with horses, but I had one trip to Wyoming where we went to like a dude ranch or whatever they're called, and like horseback riding every day. And it was just one of my favorite vacations ever. And now I since love horses. Did you ever think you'd be as involved in horse racing as you are now?
This is the ultimate side quest that has become like, it's not quite full-time job yet, but for Griffin, it has. I would say Griffin is the face of horse racing today. If you watched the Kentucky Derby, he had a full 12-minute, did not cut to commercial about his relationship with Sandman, and like him basically sleeping in the stable and him cleaning the horse and him traveling around with the horse and how the connection that they've formed, whatever. And like, so even NBC is like leaning into the relationship that Griffin has to the horse racing community, because it's one of the oldest sports, in the world, that has been broadcast, that people bet a lot of money on. And I think Griffin makes it relatable to a much younger generation. I've just been happy to be a part of his journey.
Absolutely. And I feel like amplifying through influencers and celebrity is such a big part of what you guys do at Animal Capital. Give us kind of the backstory. A, how did Animal Capital come to be? And like, B, what do you guys do?
On our way into COVID, I was working at WarnerMedia. Time Warner had become WarnerMedia. AT&T bought the company. I'm going to get these numbers all wrong, but there were 30,000 employees of WarnerMedia. 17,000 were let go in the acquisition. So well more than half. I was very lucky to keep my job when the entire rest of my team was let go or transferred, but primarily let go. I knew that like the end was sort of coming. And I got really, really lucky because one of the folks that got let go was supposed to give this big presentation on sports betting to Randall Stevenson, who was like the COO of AT&T, John Stankey, the CEO of AT&T, Mark Cuban, Mary Meeker, who's like the most famous female venture capitalist of all time. And he got let go, and I had actually made the presentation. So I got the opportunity to give it in front of this group of folks. And I don't know if I've ever told this story on camera before, but happy to. So I gave this big presentation. I was really young. I was maybe your age. I was like 25, 26 years old.
Oh, that's a compliment. I'm turning 28 in like 5 days.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And so I think it was Mary Meeker that ended up complimenting the CEO of AT&T and saying, that kid did a nice job. Like, he seems a little young to be in this room, but like, good job. My entire team got let go over the following 2 weeks. And so that presentation literally saved my job. And so it actually gave me an extra like 9 months to figure out what I wanted to do, because there was no way my job in like business development, venture capital at WarnerMedia was going to stick around. That seems like the first person that gets let go in an acquisition. And so I really thought about, what can I do that's different than what everyone else in the market is doing? And so at Time Warner, I had this opportunity, which was to invest in businesses and then help them get integrated into this huge ecosystem. And so anyone in the world would take a call with me because they might want the help of Time Warner and the ecosystem that we provide, and then the ecosystem that AT&T might provide. But ultimately, it was very hard for us to execute on actually creating a relationship between those founders and their businesses and our gigantic ecosystem. The red tape was too thick. There was too much of it. And so I thought I would build a business that was entirely based on that concept. And so I quit my job in January of 2020. We all know what happened about 6 weeks later. I think it was January like 17th of 2020. And the concept was really simple. I'm going to find a way to get myself involved with founders really early, and I'm going to do something so special for them that I change the entire trajectory of their business in the first, call it 6 to 24 months of their existence. I didn't know how I was going to raise money. I'd never raised money before. I'd only written a handful of checks before, but I had a sense of like what I could do, right? Like, I'm an investment banker from Goldman Sachs. I'd done a lot of business development licensing work. I had written some checks. I knew how to hire people. I'd done a lot of hiring. And I thought, I know what to do, but you know who else might know what to do are some celebrities, because these celebrities at the time, especially as COVID hit, were in the headlines constantly for like celebrities invested in Poppy, and that was like this huge success. But then celebrities invested in all these creator economy brands, and I know some of these folks. So I'm not going to like name names of businesses that have failed, but that we can think of very quickly back and forth. 50 companies that have come and gone in that space that celebrities at some point use their name and likeness to support. And so I thought, why not help them get involved with businesses that they might not traditionally think to support? Why can't we find businesses that are a little bit different, that aren't health, beauty? I mean, all consumers, health and beauty, consumables, apparel, whatever, because this is stuff they're already doing. They don't need me to get involved with those businesses. And so I reached out to 3,000 celebrities. There was no OpenAI. There was no Chat GPT. So it was all individually written notes, Instagram DMs, I signed up for IMDb Pro. I sent emails, whatever. And 90 people responded to me. And Griffin and Johnson and Noah Beck were actually like 2 of the 90 people that got back in touch with me. And a friend of mine who actually is a founder, his name's Ken O'Friel, but he like helped I just always want to shout him out because he helped forge the bond of us and like help push them and have them trust me to get into business with me. And we came up with the name Animal Capital. And the whole concept was, I'm going to go raise the money. I'm going to find the companies to invest in. I'm going to do the risk analysis. I'm going to write the check. I'm going to do all the back office auditing, financialing, whatever. And all I need you to do is show up for phone calls and help these founders in the way that they want to be helped. And early on, a business that we always end up talking about is Colossal Biosciences. So it's a business that said that they're going to de-extinct the woolly mammoth. And very famously this year, they de-extincted the dire wolf. And they're
working on the dodo bird.
We are working on the dodo bird and we're working on the woolly mammoth. I will say we have 11 dedicated science teams, and those are just 3 of them. The other ones are still confidential, but we're going to keep having fun announcements there. But it's a really good example of a business that you might not on its surface think, how on earth are these celebrities going to help? But we very early on got Paris Hilton to invest in the business. We got Chris Hemsworth to invest in the business. More recently, we helped Tom Brady to get invested into the business. And Griffin would get on the phone with Ben Lamb when the business was worth less than 1,000th of what it is worth today, which is really freaking crazy. It was worth less than whatever, that's like less than 1% of what it's worth now. And he would help the founder really hone his pitch for getting involved with those celebrities. Like how does bringing the direwolf back, how does bringing the woolly mammoth back benefit the environment? How does it make Paris Hilton's brand better? And we helped him establish what his first Instagram strategy was. And we helped him figure out how, like, what the go-to-market plan was, because a huge part of the story would be that as people found out what we were doing, they had to know that this is the best form of conservation. Is not just we don't just work on extinct animals. We actually primarily work on conservation, because tens of billions of dollars are spent every year unsuccessfully on conservation. And so we'd like to help it along. And so we help get those celebrities involved with a business that otherwise they would have never even looked at. And we've got dozens of those examples over the years. I'm happy to talk about any of them, but it's created real value for us. And I think it's why, James Corden is invested with us, Paris, obviously, and Mark Wahlberg. And we just did had a nice big opportunity with Sophie Turner. So we were together in London last week. And so there's lots and lots of celebrities that want to get involved with us in some way, but for us, it's about fit. And most of our celebrities, give you a silly example, but one of the defensemen for the Capitals is named Jacob Chychrun, and he's amazing, but we've been friends and chit-chatting for 5 years, and he just invested with us this week. And so it's like we're really just about the relationship. Like, you don't have to be the most famous. You don't have to be the most charismatic. You just have to be willing to work.
I want to narrow in on those early days when you decided to leave your job and start Animal Capital. I love knowing that you signed up for an IMDb Pro account. I did the same thing when I was starting to book talent on my running interview show.
It's the hardest thing to do that people don't understand. It's not, you have amazing producers and amazing team that's sitting on the other side of the camera, but when you don't have a following and you're trying to book guests.
Oh my God.
It is, 1 in 100 is killing it.
And let's paint the picture for people. Were you living in New York at the time when you were doing all this outreach and starting your company? Like, where were you?
I was in New York, and then, it
and then
sounds
you moved
terrible.
back to North Carolina?
I got lucky, right? Like, I got a little bit lucky. COVID hit, and I packed up my apartment as best I could, and I drove back to Raleigh. And of course, as everyone thinks, I'm going to be here for a week. And, I ended up having less cost, but the idea to leave was a lot more vague. Yeah. And I think that as I have the opportunity to tell my story over the last handful of years, I think I've made it seem like it's this streamlined thing, and it's not.
It's not. And I just love knowing, I love painting the picture of the fact that you were in Raleigh, North Carolina, reaching out to hundreds of celebrities a day, just waiting for certain people to bite. They finally did. You've worked with some incredible celebrities alongside you at Animal Capital and with them for, different brands in different industries. Like, what is something that you've learned through traditional celebrities, influencers, that maybe you can't learn from a traditional business person?
It's exactly like what you make of it. Like, it can be a 24-hour business. It can eat you alive. That can also be a positive thing. And so I'll use Paris as an example. I think we talked about this for a second while we were running in the gripping heat. Paris is someone that works in her house. Her whole team comes over. Her husband runs a very successful venture capital fund. I always joke that they're like my work mom and dad, Paris and Carter. They've been extremely supportive of us, but they work their asses off and they take every opportunity. And so, we were just talking about this before we turned the cameras on about you what shoes you choose to wear on camera versus what clothes you choose to wear on camera. And it just goes to show there's nothing that you do during the day that you can't work your business into. And sometimes that's healthy and sometimes that's unhealthy, but it does open your eyes to how much opportunity there really is out there. I think Paris on one end and Griffin on another, they've really taught me that, how to integrate. And so we've just talked about the horse thing and Sandman, which is so exciting. And we're going to, hopefully, you guys are going to come to Travers Cup at the end of the summer, but we're talking about hosting a concert at Travers Cup on the Friday, the big race is on Saturday. And we also own a music festival business. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to be there for the weekend anyway. Why can't I support one of our businesses? Griffin's going to be there. So Griffin can host our party. That's extra money for a business that we're heavily invested in, that we've got it's called Breakaway, that we're very, very excited about. And then there's a big DJ, and I don't know if she'll be frustrated, but I don't care. I'll name drop like Xandra, who just was named one of the top creators.
Xandra's been on the show. Yeah,
Xandra's a huge horse girl. And so getting Xandra to show up for that, and I haven't asked her, this is literally gonna be the first time she's even hearing about it. But Xandra's something that I think why wouldn't I call Xandra? She works her butt off. She'll definitely want to be at a horse event where she can make extra money, at a concert where she can enhance her DJ career. And so you don't quite see that. You're never going to see that at a Goldman Sachs or at a, whatever, at a big advertising firm or somewhere else. There is going to be a sense of I'm going to get done with my work and put it down. I try to put my work down sometimes, but it just doesn't happen.
A lot of people talk about work-life balance. And I think like when you're a founder, you're somebody who's like, your work is such a big part of your life. It's like your work is your passion project, you know?
You must feel that way.
I feel that way. Yeah. And I love always working and always, you know, it's like you're the same way. Like you go outside and you walk around New York and you're getting inspiration and you're thinking about somebody that you want to contact or reach out to. And you never know when ideas are going to come to you. What was the first deal you guys did at Animal Capital?
It sounds dumb because it's a very successful deal. So I feel silly talking about it, but because people are like, oh, of course, the first one you crushed, whatever. And like, we have plenty of businesses that do not exist anymore that we wrote checks into. And I'm happy to talk about those too. And ones I thought were going to be absolutely killer. But the first deal that we ever did was called Whatnot, which is a live commerce marketplace. And so at the time, they had this teeny little office in Santa Monica. They since moved to Venice Beach into a monster, whatever. We invested at a $50 million valuation, which was way too big. Like this business was, I mean, at the time, if they were doing $1 million, I would have been shocked, but it was a frothy, crazy time in venture capital. And if you opened up their app, it would be a live stream. And so it might be you, Kate, selling, Kipchoge's running shoes from the Berlin Marathon where he set the world record, these are the models of those shoes. That's why it's in my brain. And people will live bid on them, almost like QVC.
Okay.
And so the founder, Grant LaFontaine, literally was like, I need more people to come live stream. Like I just have this one stream. So we had some of our celebrities go do that. And it's how we got into the deal because everyone was clamoring to get in the deal. They love the concept. That business was valued at $50 million at the time. It's now worth $5 billion. So we're up about 100-ish X on our investment approximately. And that was our very first deal. Very good one to get out the door. And funnily enough, this is actually why it's a really good deal is my best friend in the world. Her name's Dylan Sands. She worked at General Atlantic, which is probably the best growth equity firm in the world. And I begged her to come work at Animal Capital. I took her on a walk in Central Park and I said, Dylan, like, I love you. You're my best friend. Like, I need you to quit your job and come do this with me. And she said, like, I love you too, but definitely not. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm making a bunch of money. I'm at the gold standard of private investing. Like, why would I do that? When she saw that I got into Whatnot and she couldn't get into it from her giant firm, that's what actually led her to quitting her job and coming to work for me. We don't have like a formal internship program at Animal. And so the only people that have ever interned for me, and my first ever intern then became my chief of staff full-time out of college. She's now a principal at the fund. Our current summer interns are all people that just wrote me really thoughtful LinkedIn messages. And we don't do interviews. We assign a project. If you do a good job on the project, that's it. You get an internship. You'd be surprised how many people won't just do the follow through of like getting through that process. Like send a nice note that catches my eye. I will send you the project. And if you do a good job, that's it. It is a paid internship.
We just talked about this concept with Alex Lieberman, and he had like he was so good at like terminology, but he basically said that there's two types of people you can hire. You can hire somebody based on their resume or like based on potential. And like, I completely agree. And like from our perspective to like much smaller scale, but like production wise, if I'm hiring somebody, I want to see like what they're capable of doing for our team, you know? So I want to see like mock something up for us, you know, show us what great looks like, show us how you want to evolve our brand. What is possible versus show me your resume, show me that you went to X, Y, and Z school.
We talk about talent versus engine. And so we joke with Sam, who is our now young principal, and she just got a promotion. She's very excited about, and we joke that she was talent, and like teaching her to do her first job out of college was, I mean, it almost killed me. Like the same way that we chat about this on our run too, but like that first job in sitting in an office, getting your butt out of bed at 6:30, 7 o'clock, getting showered, getting shaved, putting on like a nice outfit that like you feel presentable, making sure you actually have deodorant on, that you've eaten, that you're like put together, you're not hungover, which I certainly was plenty when I was 22 and 23 years old. Teaching her that part of the job, that you have to show up on time, like that 80% like is showing up, like that's like not just a dumb mantra, that's very real, was the hardest thing because I don't have the infrastructure to do that. And you don't have to tell me or tell Dylan about our own business that we own to show up. Like we're dying to start working when we open our eyes in the morning, the same way that I know that you feel that way.
You're like it's hard to go to sleep because you're always thinking about there's more to do.
I think our intern this summer, I would say we picked he's gonna listen to this and be like, WTF, man. But like we picked Engine. Like we picked Engine. He wrote a really thoughtful, like amazing note, and it's been wonderful. But like he has learned on the job. Like he's picked up the pieces that will make him look talented more than the other way around.
It's interesting. You guys work with and invest in a lot of startups and early stage companies. What is like one thing that they should be looking for in their hires and in their employees that they should be hiring for? Like what is like one quality you can kind of pinpoint?
It depends like where you are in your life cycle, but like if you're really early and you're going to pay someone absolute garbage, they need to be prepared to get paid garbage. Mm-hmm. And so like there's some level of like grit that comes with that you can't replace. And I know that's like a really weird thing to say, and it doesn't necessarily speak to someone's personality. It might speak to like their parents' wallet, or it might speak to their ability to be frugal or their decision to live in Long Island City versus the West Village. And like, it sounds dumb, but like all those things are very important because like you need them to be signed up for a journey with you. And if they're not, then they're not. And you can't teach that. And so people say this all the time to me is hire slow and fire fast. Mm-hmm. I would say hire fast and fire fast. Like if it's not working and they can't prove themselves quickly, you will see like that person, like you could have someone on your team send like a mock-up or like a completely raw footage of like our run or our podcast and say, put this together. It's like how you think it should be done. Mm-hmm. And if they put a certain amount of effort in, like you're going to know very quickly.
Yeah, of course. Get
them on the team, like get them signed up, like get them bought into what you're doing. And if it's not working, move on. There's plenty of people that are hungry out there.
As good as hire fast, fire fast is for the company itself, it's also good for the person. You're doing that person a service if this job isn't something that they're naturally thriving at or that they're excited about, you know?
Maybe that's the wake up call. Maybe that's the wake up call they needed. It probably isn't. People don't change.
I think people do change.
I think people can change. I think in that construct, I think in the boss employee construct, that's much harder than like us as human beings, like choosing to go to therapy, or you've got the David Goggins book on your shelf. Like, I think that we can certainly change, but like in that paradigm of employer employee, I think it's much harder.
You're right. It is so interesting how work life, like literally how you show up in an office or to work, is so different sometimes for people in their normal everyday lives, which makes a lot of sense. But like you can be a great person in life with your friends and you'd be the kindest person in the world, but then you get to the office and for some reason you got a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, you know?
I was the worst. I'm not joking. I was the worst analyst in the history of Goldman Sachs. I think it was because I could be fun with clients at a younger age than maybe some of the other people. And that was me being too comfortable.
Okay. Outreach. What is your subject line for a celebrity?
Oh my God. I think I should go back and look. And what's really funny is a handful of times, and this has happened more and more recently, celebrities I reached out to that never responded to me, we've like ended up connecting. And so we'll like DM about whatever, like silly example, but I just went to go see Catherine Gallagher's, Peter Gallagher from the OC's daughter, her show was off Broadway. It's called Up All Night. And it's actually closing. So I don't know when this is coming out, but people should go see it. It's great.
We love off-Broadway shows.
Love off-Broadway shows. But she messaged me like, thanks so much for coming to the show. And right above the message, I was so freaking embarrassed. It is a message from March 2020. Like COVID's just hitting, like me, no shame, gigantic message. Hey, Catherine, right before COVID, I saw you in, I'm going to lose the name of it, but the Alanis Morissette Broadway show. You were amazing. I'm thinking about starting a business where we get celebrities more, a little bit more involved in startups. It requires no money from you, and I will only take up 15 minutes of your time. And if you're not interested, don't worry about it. So I tried to, I reached out to 3,000 people, and I would say that everyone got a personal message, and I tried to spend a little bit of time, 2 minutes maybe, and adds up very fast, with like what their content was. But I really had seen Catherine Gallagher's show, and it was the only time in my entire life I'd seen a mid-show standing like applause.
Yeah. Was this on Instagram DM?
On Instagram DM.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to get in touch with people.
You must have had the same experience where you like reach out to someone and then they eventually respond and then they see that you message them and they're and you're like, oh my God.
I say, huge fan of you, would love to have you on my running show if you're up for it. And that's kind of fun because it's like, running show, little challenge. But I do think best tips for outreach, keep it conversational, keep it short, keep it light, and end with a CTA.
Yeah, 2 to 3 sentences maximum. And if it's taking up any part of the screen where you're overwhelmed, they're quadruple overwhelmed to however you feel. And also like people do see this stuff. And I know that sounds like crazy, but like think about like Griffin or Noah or whoever, like some of the biggest folks that work with us today were people that responded to my Instagram DMs. And like, great example from yesterday, but I went to a meeting with the founder of Android. His name's Rich Miner, and he's an amazing guy. He's one of our investors. at the Ritz in Nomad, and obviously in the city. And I ran into Steve Aoki right when I walked in the door. And Steve's wearing like the crazy shirt with the animations, whatever. We've never actually met in person, but we've co-invested in a handful of deals.
I'm picturing the two of you in like a revolving door, just kind of passing, and it's like slow-mo, and it's Marshall and Steve Aoki. Me
being like an absolute pest. Like I keep chasing him around the revolving door. And he's like, I'm not getting out.
Yeah, you're like running in a circle like mice in a wheel or whatever.
And so I walked over and said, hey, so sorry to bother you. I'm Marshall Sandman. Like I run Animal Capital. Like we've like almost crossed paths one time. He goes, hey, I know who you are. Like you messaged me on Instagram ages ago, and you ended up actually building that business. He had read the message and like processed it, and then I guess seen my name a couple of times over the years. And like I think that like solidified what might be like a future maybe business relationship. Like we took a selfie. Like who knows if I ever see Steve Aoki again? But it was a cool moment.
It is a cool moment.
But the fact that he related those moments to each other from like a million years ago to seeing my name, like it does matter, and you never know when that hard work is going to pay off.
What I like about the Steve Aoki situation, a lot of things here. Momentum, I think key is being shown here, right? Like I think what's so cool is you started out just doing cold outreach. Now all of a sudden you have people like Steve Aoki being like, not only did I see your DM, but I know who you are, and I think what you're doing is cool, right? And you're starting to have
it's like a crazy, like it sounds dumb. I'm like pumping my own tires. Like I was pumped.
Yeah, it goes, well, of course, it goes from outreach to then inbound requests. I'm sure for you get a lot of people that want to be involved with the business. So you have to now say a lot of no's to people that back in the day you would have been probably like, I would love to talk to you and have you be involved. This is where like your business model is so cool, because it's a combination of these very influential people that have a huge, like a lot of cultural significance, publicly. But then it's also backed by you guys who are these smart business people that like know where to take them, and it's like everything's a team effort, right? It's always a we. And I think it's just, you guys make a really cool team. But I think when it comes to like booking our show, like I credit where credit's due. Like I love interviewing founders and business people. And I think that's because I come from a corporate background, right? Like I worked in advertising.
You're a founder.
I have a production company. I've got two brothers. Twin brother works in finance. Older brother works in finance family. Really. My parents were like, what the fuck is she doing with this tripod outside? When I first started that, like, you're leaving your advertising job. You worked so hard for it, So I think for me, and I think like the people that like the show and follow me, they love founder stories.
But the reality is like you run a big business. I know that sounds dumb. Like we're sitting in a room, you have several team members here, and these are all folks that are here for you to make your day easier. And also it's not about easier, it's about efficiency.
Yeah. And
it's like you now have so much to do that like if you were to go back to could you ever go back to how you did it before?
Oh my God. Well, what I was doing.
If you had to start over today, knowing everything you know now, could you do it? Like, could you go back to whatever it was, 500 followers on Instagram, and you bought a G7X, and you bought you bought the mics for $60 on Best Buy?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely could. I believe in the power of starting over, actually. And I think like whether you get to a certain point where, you have a lot of success, like I think every single successful person has moments in their life where you have to feel like you're starting from scratch again. And I think you have to be able to go back to basics. And I think I am somebody that's so foundationally gritty. Like I don't think you can outgrit. You can probably. I don't think a lot of people could outgrit me. Like when I first started this show, I was doing the job of like 12 people. Like I was filming, editing, not sleeping, and also working my full-time advertising job. And if I had to do it again, I absolutely could. But now having the team support that we do, it's so incredible to try to create something that's like bigger than just me, like I want myself to serve as somebody that like my audience can relate to and be like, Kate's not just having a conversation with Marshall, we are. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I think that's an interesting thing in business when you think about Animal Capital and like some of the brands that you guys invest in. What would you say, like, when we talk about like a brand surpassing just the creator or the people that are, promoting it? There's
two pieces to that. One is the creator themselves at the outset has to be obsessed with it. And by the way, the dumb comment, but it has to be a good idea.
Yeah.
Like we are past the point where it's going to work because of who it is. And I don't, there's one person who I think is controversial today. I don't mind saying it. Like Blake Lively started a canned alcohol brand. I think it's a little weird to start a canned alcohol brand when your brand is that you don't drink. Like that's a brand, like, which by the way, great. You don't drink, like I don't drink very much. Like in my household, not a lot of alcohol is consumed, which is great.
You can't be an animal drinking a lot of alcohol. Showing up
sometimes we're party animal at Animal Capital, but it is a rare occasion. But it's an interesting example where her husband started a gin business that he obsessed himself with. The great example that everyone wants to talk about, and they will talk about, I'm not joking, for the next 50 years, books will be written about it, is George Clooney starting Casamigos. George Clooney bought a pickup truck. He always had boxes of Casamigos in the back of it, and he had a pop-up bar, and he would bartend at every party that he went to. When there were consumer events, which are like these like big like Expo West, like, you know, whether they're certain Patrick Schwarzenegger's there serving his mosh bar, or Sabina Late is there doing the vegan cookie dough or whatever, George Clooney would be at those events serving shots of tequila. It's like, oh my God, George Clooney's here. Of course I'm going to go buy some freaking tequila. Of course I'm going to put it on my shelves. You have to be obsessed with it. You have to be obsessed with it for an enduring period of time. It's not a seasonal moment. It's not going to be about the specific deliverables. And that's something that we say to our founders that get involved with celebrities all the time is, if you're working with a gigantic celebrity or even a small celebrity, if they're hung up on it's this many Instagram stories, or it's this many static posts, or it's this many Snapchat tiles, you're already working with the wrong person. And I know that you're going to feel differently. You're going to say, I'm in the room with this person. Mm-hmm. I have a deal on the table. I got to take it. I'm giving up these dollars, this equity, whatever, but this is my opportunity because it's saving me this money. It's giving me this next level. Creators can absolutely still start businesses. The drive and the motivation and the relationship to it starts with two things. One is it has to be a good idea. One is you have to continue to be obsessed with it. And three, it might not be a venture business. And this is something that I have a feeling you and I are going to talk about way outside this interview for the rest of our friendship, is like, it, just because you can sell the product. And the example I gave you this morning was my friend Gabby Kono just started a fish purse brand, and it is like a gold plated fish, and like your phone barely fits in it. It is the least practical bag in the entire world, and she cannot keep them on shelves.
I want one. I saw it on social media the other day, and I want one.
It's chic. It's chic AF. It's really cool. And she sold tens of thousands of dollars of things, and she knows it's not about taking outside funding. It's about, what's my next great idea? Her great idea for this was she saran wrapped it into like a styrofoam container so it looks like fish that you buy at the market. Great idea. That doesn't mean that you need to go raise a venture capital round. We've our mutual friend is your manager.
Yeah.
And he sent me a deal yesterday, and I won't out them because they're clearly out trying to raise money, but it is a 4-wall concept around paddle. I never know how to pronounce it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think they can make great money. That's not a venture capital business. It doesn't mean you need to go raise money from a bunch of people at some crazy valuation. It means take the minimum amount of money to get your product going, to show that there's demand for your product, and then go from there. And so many creators lose track of that along the way.
One of the things that I want to touch on really quickly is, just because I loved the comment, is you have to be obsessed with what you do. It's so funny. Like, I love when people have niche obsessions.
One great example, and I actually don't know how the business is doing today, but it was this celebrity's relationship to it that it's something we would never invest in. It's Kaylee Cuoco from The Big Bang Theory, who's like adorable. She's on the HBO show, The Flight Attendant. Mm-hmm. She started like I think it's like a pretty high-end like dog accoutrement brand, like fancy dog collar, fancy dog poop bag holder, whatever. It was her relationship to it that like intrigued me. Like, I don't think it's it's a high margin product that like maybe there's a big market for it, but like the replacement value and the opportunity cost is like, it's really easy to switch. And like, I'm not going to keep spending a bunch of money on a new leash or new whatever. And by the way, I don't know if you guys have a dog, but once you buy a leash, I don't need another leash for 10 years. Like, I don't actually have to come back to your website for a long time. Mm-hmm. But she's obsessed with it. And the business is going to succeed because she's obsessed with it. And she's going to keep coming up with like fun, new, cute things and fun, new reasons to come back to the website and to like buy the next thing. And so like, I'm disagreeing with myself, right? Like, I don't think it's the best idea in the world. I didn't end up investing in it, but she will be successful because she cares so freaking much.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this, because I think what's really interesting about you is you guys started in 2020. You've, seen a lot of seasons of different types of industries popping up, right? Like 2022, I always think about like the crypto boom and, certain things with like Web3. So let's talk a little bit about how the industries you guys have been like hyper fixated on have changed over the years, and maybe what you guys are currently focused on, and maybe certain industries that have always been good investments.
If something's trendy, like, I'm almost inherently not investing in it. And the reason why is I get really, really nervous. Like, I get like anxious, can't sleep at night, nervous that someone knows something about that industry that I don't, or is just hyper fixated on it. So why would my check get into that business earlier? Why would it's almost like a self-esteem problem. Like, it's almost like why would I get to see this business? Like, I've run a pretty good business. Like, I should get to see the business at the right time, whatever. So there are exceptions to all these rules, but we don't invest in Web3. We don't invest in the creator economy. we do a little bit of consumer products, and we talked about it that at this point we do one a year. And we have to be basically in charge of starting that business. And so we did that with Noah Beck. We started EFES. It's been sold. It's been a great story for us. Trey Kennedy's Basic Sellers Wine, which has been awesome. And we've got I don't know when this is coming out, but we're about to be in a really exciting retailer as Trey goes on tour. We're pretty pumped up. And then next year, we've actually already picked the item. So like, we don't even really do consumer. There are some exceptions, like working with Patrick and Mosh, like, that's a good point of like Patrick and his mom are so obsessed with the product. They just make it work. So I would say find industries that you believe that you know more about than the common person. And so we've been pretty fortunate to be involved in, for better or worse, in animal-oriented businesses. Our first animal-oriented business was Colossal. We invested at a $22 million valuation. The business is now worth $10.4 billion.
That is so aligned for you guys. Being that your name is Animal Capital.
Well, it's also why the woolly mammoth was our second animal for our fund. But we actually, we'll have to get you an Animal Capital hat. And like along the animal lines, like I'm very fortunate. I have a cousin who is a very successful pet supply retailer. And I've made him talk to companies about, okay, we invested in a consumer brand. This is me bucking my own trend that I just discussed. It's called Sundays for Dogs. They were going to spend $5 million in a really early fundraise. And I made them talk to my cousin. And I called him and I said, hey, his name's Britt. I love him. He's the best. And Britt, they're going to spend all this money on building their own factory. Why are they doing this? And he said, there's a huge problem in dog food today. And it's that they have the same allergens as humans, but your dog food and my dog food from two different brands. And this one says it's, hypoallergenic, whatever the hell, it's gluten-free. It's this bison meat, chicken meat, whatever. It's actually being made right beside the one that has chickpeas in it. And my dog's allergic to chickpeas, and my dog's going to end up going into anaphylactic shock. So building their own factory really early is a huge bet, but it's one that could really pay off. Sundays for Dogs, when we invested, was doing about $6.5 million of revenue. This year they'll do more than $90 million, which is great. Yeah. We invested in a pet pharmacy called Mix Lab.
So you guys do a lot of animal stuff.
We've done a disproportionate amount of animal, and I'd say animal towards life science. We're invested. Great example. This is a really sad story, but we invested in a dog stem cell business called Gallant. And the founder, Aaron Hirschhorn, passed away in a surfing accident, like a really young guy, a dad in Florida. And the business has pivoted since to being a cat cancer research business. And they've actually been very successful. And when I say I have nothing to do with that, that is luck. Like, thank fucking goodness. Like, pardon my language, but like, that's great that they found a great person to go work on the business. It was a really sad moment. And we've just had this disproportionate turn towards life sciences. We're invested in over a dozen life science oriented businesses over the last 6 years. And so it's, for us, that's an industry that we know more about, and we know how to make that business commercial. We know how to get you from zero to your first contract. And that's where most of these businesses die on the vine. Is it's a great idea. We met with a business last week that we're not investing in, called Kangaroo, and they're a artificial womb business. And when I tell you, I know more about artificial wombs because of Colossal than I had a dream about an artificial womb the other day. We can talk about that with your fiance and see if that's something that you guys are gonna be interested in. But I probably know more about artificial wombs than 99.9% of the population because of our investments. And I was able to ask questions on the call that make me, maybe this is too confident, make me believe that I know more than somebody else about it. And I have a leg up in choosing to invest or not invest in it. And so I'd say get obsessed with something. That's, I think, that's how you started the question. Like, get obsessed with something and you will find a way to invest in that thing. These are all businesses, right? Like, there's people that have made a bunch of money in the creator economy. Jelly Smack's been this unbelievable success story. There's people that make so much money in Web3 and crypto, and there's people that made money on the stupid Trump coin. Like, who knows what you can make money in? But if you are obsessed with it and you're paying enough attention to the industry, you'll find a way. And for us, Dylan and I really have like the sectors that we've identified. Like, we work at Cornell together and Goldman together, and she worked at General Atlantic, and then at a consumer fund called AF. And I was obviously at WarnerMedia. I know I'm talking really fast, so I'm trying to squeeze it all in. You are so good. Yeah. So we have our own industries that we cover. And then our principal, Sam, like, is a computer like data engineer. And so like, we just try to focus on like what we know best. And then if we don't, we just move on, and that's okay. Like, that's really fine. We recently invested in a business called Array Labs, and they are a modular camera business that gets attached to satellites. So the same way that SpaceX's big thing was, we're going to reuse the rocket. That's a business. Mm-hmm. And people for a long time were like, why why do I care if we reuse the rocket? And it's honest, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But now we know why, and we know how important it is that these satellites are equipped appropriately, whatever. This is allowing satellites to not have to come down to get re-equipped with new cameras.
Wow.
It took us years, probably took me 3 years of learning about this before I found the right business and felt like I knew enough. And so you just can't rush, and you have to be comfortable walking away when you don't feel like you know enough.
You know what's so interesting about your business too is you guys work with so many companies and you're constantly learning about so many different companies and what they do and their business models and kind of the why behind the business. You just like you have in your mind such a robust knowledge of all these different industries, and you know all these like random things, which is fascinating. I know like 2 sentences worth about every industry and 5 sentences worth about next to nothing. Right. Okay. Time check.
Other than artificial wombs.
Time check me so that I know how much time you have left.
All right, I definitely have to scooch. But
okay. Give me.
Let's do like one more.
One final question. Okay. We'll do 2 final questions. First one is, what is the biggest mistake that founders of startups make when they're just starting their businesses?
I think hyperfixation is the biggest. It's almost a personality trait. And by the way, that's something that like I am just getting to know you, but I would say that we probably both suffer from that a little bit.
Yeah.
We will have founders who are unbelievable founders. And this is a real conversation that happened in the middle of the night 2 nights ago. I did not respond. I was dead asleep. But one of our founders sent me like a screenshot of, I don't know what you call it, when they basically have like a wireframe of their app. And they were freaking out about the font. And Kate, I'm not joking, freaking out about the font. Mm-hmm. And I was like, who cares? Your app doesn't work. Like no one's using the app. We've made no money. You're spending money. You're not sleeping. Like you're becoming inefficient in this moment. But that actually happens all the time. We have a business that recently sold, and it was successful-ish. We didn't make any money. We just about got our money back. But like we invested 5 years ago. I wrote them a check, a very high-risk check. Getting my money back is not good enough. That one of their founders was hyper-fixated on who their first advertising partner would be. Who cares?
Right.
I get it. It's a value signal, but you need the money so that you can extend the runway of your business so that we can stay in business. So I think hyperfixation is something that you almost need to counterbalance yourself with your business partner. And when you're starting your business, it can be your parent, right? It can be your mom, it can be your dad, it can be your brother, your sister, like making sure that you've got a priority list and saying, I'm going to get through these things. And if I don't get through these tasks at this period of time, I'm going to move on. And the reality is, you know this, you have to do 1 million jobs during the day. Yeah. I have to do 1 million jobs during the day. The thing that differentiated me at WarnerMedia, part of the reason I got to keep my job is because I was still the person that knew the chief strategy officer at WarnerMedia. I knew what her coffee order was, and I had her calendar, so I knew when she'd be in the office and when she wouldn't. So her like disgusting sugary Starbucks was on her desk. And it's like, why fire that kid? Like, it's not my money, and my disgusting sugary Starbucks is on my desk. Great. Hyperfixation is probably the thing that our founders, because they are high functioning human beings, that they get most lost in. And so finding a way to regulate yourself.
Yeah. And I think also that comes down to like delegating tasks and hiring the right people. And
impossible for founders. So hard.
I mean, I do the same thing. Like there's definitely time Mikey's like, Kate's gone hyperfixated on fonts before, and then it's like, you don't see the big picture, and it's like, you need never. To have people in your corner that are like, me, never. No, seriously though. I'm like hyperfixated on the books that I put up there. If you could leave our audience, whether they're creators, fans, or aspiring entrepreneurs, with one key takeaway, what would it be? Don't be afraid to take whatever the risk is that you've been thinking about for a long time. Of course, you want to be measured. You want to think about your own personal, financial, and family situation, whatever. But I see so many times people with the idea and even with the drive, and it is that risk of losing something that keeps them, that holds them back. Maybe I'll inspire one person to make that big change. I don't know. I think the other big key takeaway, and I think this is your takeaway, and it's a really, really special one, is get hyper fixated on something. Mm-hmm. But not too much. Get excited, get niche about an industry, get excited about a topic, get excited about a type of business, or by the way, a type of person or a geography. That's the economy we're beginning to evolve into, and we've talked about this before in our lives, but it's the niche economy. And so getting excited about something, even if you're not maybe you are becoming a content creator and you're listening to this, maybe you want to start your own business. Maybe you just want to go to a startup that like actually, you're still going to take a salary and a little less risk, but like, get excited about something, and whatever that is, that genuineness
will shine through.
I think the one thing that creators in general always think about is kind of the next chapter, right? Like, where do we go after the brand deals? Or like, we're making a lot of money through brand deals. Where are we investing that money, right? I think this is something that a lot of creators think about.
It's a phone call I get every single day.
So what is your advice to creators or even people in a position of maybe they get a bonus at their banking job? Where should we be investing our money? And what do you think is the next chapter for creators?
I think taking risk is super important. Stock market, bond market, all things that are nice. Those are things I'm not really here to like sit and talk about. You can go get a financial advisor with as little as $5,000 and you'll have someone help explain to you, this is what we're going to do with your stocks. This is what we're going to do with your bonds. You're going to be super risk on. Maybe they'll help you make 11, 12% a year and you can start really small. For me, like my biggest thing in my first year at Goldman, I ran up a gigantic credit card bill. Gigantic, because I wanted to live this New York life, but I couldn't afford it. Beyond my first year, I started to save money, fortunately. And I forced myself to put, I think it was like $1,000 a month away. It's not tremendous. I was really proud of myself. Even like my parents were proud of me for putting a little bit of money away. And that started to become the thing. For creators, I would say you do need a financial advisor. You 100% do. But you also need to go out and take some risks because your financial advisor is really incentivized for you to be de-risked. They're incentivized to take as much of your cash and put it at, no offense to any of these places, UBS, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. They want to keep your money there. That's fine. That is their job to do that. They will help you grow your money a little. But I would say doing, 5 to 10% of your money, depending on where you are in your life, in venture, 5 to 10% of your money in real estate. And then you can think about the rest being a little bit safer bets. And if you're a creator out there and this is a conversation that you want to have, I am not giving traditional financial advice. I am just speaking from my own experience. I am not a registered investment advisor, but I am happy to talk about it with you and share stories about what I've done and how it might have worked. If you are everybody else on planet Earth and you don't have that same concern about like, I have an 8-year creator life and then the rest of my life, save money and make sure that you have like a nest egg and whatever that means to you, that means something different to everybody. And then beyond that, invest in what you're interested in. Get informed about something niche that you get excited about and like write a really small check and see how it feels. You'll start to get better at it quickly.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today, Marshall. This was incredible. You are the best. Everybody go check out Animal Capital.
Thank you so much for having me. I have so beyond looked forward to this and it did not disappoint.